Hello everyone, welcome back to the final round, the finals of the KirwansGameStore Catskill, New York Pokemon Trading Card Game League Cup. We have James Thiel on the left, he got second at a regional before, and Scott Dunham on the right. Pretty good player from our local scene. We've got Mew on the left, we've got Gardevoir on the right. Same matchup as the last round. This is, I believe, Scott's third time being on the camera during this tournament, so I think he's been on here the most out of everyone. So he's going to really show off this Gardevoir deck versus this Mew deck. Hopefully it can go Scott's way, because in the previous round versus Chris Saikala, James Thiel was able to squeeze out that victory at the end of Game 3. A very close Game 3. Scott is showing us the hand there, just attaches to the Zacian V he started and uses Roar of the Sword. So his hand being completely dead. We did see that Game 1 when he played in a Gardevoir mirror against Tori. He did have a dead hand, but he started Lumineon. Starting Zacian is quite a lot better. At this point, these were the only two people left in the tournament. Even everybody else managed to just leave at this point as well. They didn't stay to watch the finals. I was on the other side of the store, but I did have it open on Twitch. So I did see maybe about half of this game. I was buying some cards. I was buying some Wordier in case Lugia ends up being good in this next format. I don't think it's going to be, but the Wordiers were only like a couple bucks a piece, so why not? So we do see the Battle VIP Pass coming out, getting 2 Genesects, attaching the Forest Seal Stone to one of the Genesects to get a second Battle VIP Pass using the V-Star Power Star Alchemy from the Forest Seal Stone. And getting another Genesect and another Mew. So what I would like to see is one more Mew come down. That way James has the ability to keep 2 Mew VMAXs in play, as well as a Mew V, so that if he does Psychic Leap, he doesn't have to, you know, only have one Mew V in play and get bossed for the game. So we are going to Escape Rope into the other Mew V. We're going to Choice Belt and double Turbo the Mew to draw a few more cards. Looks like we've got double Mew VMAX, the Lost Blower, Lost Vacuum, and I think that's Roxanne and Judge. So we're going to get rid of the Judge with our own Lost Vacuum, draw 2 more cards, gets another Battle VIP Pass. You can play that since this is turn 1. He can only get 1 more Pokemon. I would get the Mew V, personally. But I think with how your opponent's start was, it is okay to get another Genesect or the Oricorio instead. And here we go, going for the Oricorio. So yeah, it only mattered once in that previous round, the damage decrease from the Oricorio. So we're going to have to see if it makes more of a difference here, because if you are one-shotting with a Zacian, you're hitting 340, minus 20 is 320 is still enough to take the knockout. Or is it? Oh yeah, I guess it does make it so you need 1 more energy. Maybe I was doing my math wrong, because each energy is 3, so you'd be hitting 310. So yeah, that does force an extra energy. So that is correct to play the Oricorio. And Scott just goes ahead, hits for 150, because he has 3 energies on his Zacian. And then James just flashes the Mew VMAX by placing that down. And that's it. So you see they look to the side because they're going to go tell Stefan, the person who's organizing and hosting this tournament here at this game store, to update the bottom of the screen to show that one of them has won. But he's not on this side of the store because he's helping me buy a couple Wordier. So I go through the whole process of like buying. I think he went to the basement to grab something, and then he came up, and then I bought the 2 Wordier, and then after that I go, oh, by the way, Stefan, James won game 1 really fast. So at some point this will be updated, but not for a little while. So ignore the fact that it says 0 versus 0. They are going into game 2. Scott down a game because he had a pretty poor start. Hopefully he does not have that poor of a start again. That's the second time we've seen a poor start from him, unfortunately. But he has made it to the finals, so that's shown that his deck has worked out for the most part over the course of this tournament. You can always throw one game and still have 2 remaining games to be able to win and get that nice Alolan Vulpix playmat. Also, everybody in top 4 did decide to split the pack prizes, which was nice of them. So everybody does walk out of this tournament with half a box. There were 2 full boxes in prize support. 1 box was for first place, so you could call this a win-a-box tournament in a way. And then the second box was divided between second, third, and fourth. I think second was supposed to get half a box, and then third and fourth were both a quarter. So they just decided to split evenly so that everybody had a fair chance at half a box, which is nice. So if you were to, you know, lose in the finals, you get the same as you do if you split in top 4. So you might as well. No reason not to do it. So Scott is going to start with double Fog Crystal. Looks like he's got 2 Curlias in hand, so his hand is a lot better than it was in the previous game. He is going to go double Fog Crystal for double Ralts. It looks like he does have an energy to attach as well. I'd like to see that come down, and then the Roar of the Sword. So still not the best opening. We didn't see any Battle VIP passes or anything. Those are just going to be dead draws later in the game. But at least this is better than game 1 by a long shot. So James is going to open up. He does have a Battle VIP pass, so he's going to start loading his bench with Mew stuff. And you can see just why so many people were doing so well with Mew during this last regionals in Fresno during the same weekend that this tournament was happening. So vast majority of day 2 was Mew decks, but only 2 made the top 8, and then of course had to hit each other in top 8. So we do see the Forest Seal Stone come down to the Genesect. We are going to Cram-O-Matic as well, because if we Cram-O-Matic heads, we can get that Battle VIP pass. Looks like that must have been a Tails, so we are going to go for the Forest Seal Stone, Star Alchemy, V-Star Power, flip over that V-Star marker, and we are going to go for another Battle VIP pass. So this is why a lot of these Gardevoir decks have been adding that Forest Seal Stone in, so that you could bench the Zacian turn 1 and get that Battle VIP pass guaranteed turn 1, but Sky Seal Stone is pretty strong as well. You don't really have room in the deck for both, unfortunately. So we're going to see a Judge from James is going to reduce Scott's hand to just 4 new cards after shuffling those double Curlias back in. So Scott had a pretty decent hand at the beginning here, and now he might not. We'll have to see how he draws off of this. James also does have to draw kind of good off of this, but he has 3 Genesects to make up the difference if his draws are pretty bad. That is why Judge is so good in this Mew deck. It's going to be really interesting in this next upcoming format when Iono does become legal, because a lot of decks will be able to essentially end their opponents now. And it is both better than worse than end, because you don't shuffle the cards in, you shuffle them and put them on the bottom of the deck, a lot like Marnie. A substantial difference in card effect. So we are going to get a, looks like we have 3 Mew Vs on the bench. We're going to attach a double turbo to one of them, draw 1 extra card. It is a Path to the Peak. You could always play that if you're expecting a Rare Candy Gardevoir, but Scott would also need multiple energy in the discard pile. So you might as well just hold on to that path for now. You're not going to really get much of any value out of it during this turn. Scott draws for turn, so now he has 5 cards in his hand. Looks like, I can't tell if that's a Research or a Worker. I think it's probably Worker. We're going to find out in a second, I think. So Scott deciding what he wants to discard. Looks like he gets rid of a Penny and a Zacian V. Has 2 of those nice Crown Zenith Alt Art Zacian Vs, where it's at the pedestal for the sword and shield that they carry. him and the Zamazenta. That's from the video game. Of course, in the video game, How catches the legendary that you don't catch, which makes no sense because he only allows you to draw 3 cards, which is why Nimona should have been a better supporter than draw 3, because she is a champion. They did her dirty in the TCG. They showed her no respect. So it looks like we are going to play Luminion down. That is going to search Scott's deck here for a Professor's Research. That's going to make his hand a lot better, but he would not have had to play that Luminion if he did not get judged on this last turn, and is forced to get rid of a Gardevoir EX. Hopefully he has one more left in his deck, or at least the Miriam or Clara in order to be able to play that. Okay, so it must have been the Penny I was seeing in his hand before, because that's definitely the worker in his hand now. We're going to level ball, get ourselves a Kirlia. This is much more of a game than it was the previous round. The previous game, game 1 here. We're going to Refinement, get rid of a Psychic Energy. There's a Battle VIP pass we could have used earlier. But also a level ball. We can level ball either for another Ralts, or we could go for another Kirlia. I think that would be a little bit better. Looks like we are going to go for the Ralts. Not sure how I feel about that. Unless you have the other Kirlia in hand already, then it's fine. Yeah, no. So I would like to see another Kirlia to discard draw 2. Oh, he has a rare candy. That's why. That makes sense. All right, then he definitely made the right play getting that Ralts. So goes for the Shining Arcana, draws 2 cards. One of them is a Psychic Energy, so that can be immediately attached to a Pokemon. And it looks like we don't have an attach for turn as well to go with it. So Zacian is only going to hit for 180. If he had an attach for turn as well, he would have been able to take the knockout. Or if he saw 2 energy off that Shining Arcana, either way. So Scott just that short of being able to take the 2-prize lead. And now James is likely going to take a 2-prize lead. And I don't think he has Penny in his list like a lot of decks do now, but if he did, this would be a really great time to play it. Completely erase the 180 damage that's on that Genesect. And I think James has been prioritizing that Oricorio, so it must be prized this match. Because we would have more than likely have seen that come down earlier. But the damage reduction wouldn't have mattered. So we are going to see a switch. He's going to move this Genesect out of the active spot onto the bench. He's used it already. That's why it looks tapped. So we're going to go for the second Genesect, draw another 2 cards. We've played 1 Power Tablet, so we are able to knock out with Technoblast the Zacian V that is at full HP. So I do believe that Mew is favored in this matchup slightly. I think it's like 55-45 Mew's favor. Just because it's a little bit more consistent. It just gets going faster. It takes prizes faster. But if you're ever able to pull together the one-shot on a Mew VMAX with the Skyseal Stone, take 4 prize cards. If you were able to knock out that Genesect turn 1, you know, Scott would just be there. You know, say he took that knockout on Genesect turn 1, then he has multiple turns left in the game to try to piece together Zacian Skyseal Stone. And can just, like, attack with Gardevoir EX in between. To try to, like, apply some pressure. This Gardevoir deck always feels 1 turn too slow, because a lot of the times when it gets steamrolling, it always feels like it's the time when you rare candy into Gardevoir EX turn 2 with a bunch of energy in the discard already. But you usually can't end up doing that until turn 3, because you always hard evolve into it. It's hard to set up the rare candy in this deck. And even if you do, it's a little less consistent, because you did get all of those turns of refinement before that. So we are seeing the Path to the Peak come down now. I like seeing it here because you do know that that Kirlia can evolve into an EX. There is the Shining Arcana one already in play. And this feels like it's James's game to win. If Scott was able to take that knockout, if he was able to have that attached for turn on that Genesect, I would feel like Scott would be able to come back in this. But because that Luminion is down on the bench, James can always bring that up. And then you can just knock out 2 Pokemon and then you win. So Scott really needs to piece together a knockout of some sort this turn. You could even use the Ralts and a Boss's Orders to take the knockout on the Genesect. That would be really cool to see. But looks like we are going for the Miriam this time. We're going to put the double Zacian as well as the Gardevoir EX back into the deck. Shuffle that in and then draw a fresh 3 new cards. Hopefully one of those being the Gardevoir EX. If we have the energy in the discard pile as well, it would be nice to see one of those Zacian V come back as well. But not very likely with a deck this size, especially after already drawing 4. You've used your Shining Arcana and your Refinement Kirlia already. Looks like we do draw into the Zacian, but we draw into double Gardevoir EX as well. So very interesting to see that here. Again, Boss and taking the knockout with Ralts would feel super good. Especially if you could bench like Radiant Greninja and then you teleport into it. So switch into the Greninja. Because you wouldn't mind the Greninja getting knocked out over the Ralts. Because then you could always evolve the Ralts into a Kirlia again. Or a Rare Candy into another Gardevoir. So it looks like Scott is always just like 1 card short of being able to piece this together here. Looks like he's thinking, almost thinks about discarding the Gardevoir EX. I like that he didn't do it. But it feels kind of bad. Oh, and he's going for another Kirlia. So he's not going to be able to take the... Well, I mean, he already played a supporter anyway, so he can't boss. I just really wanted to see the boss play. So... Oh, did he not use the Shining Arcana yet? Did he only use the Refinement? Because he just straightened out the Gardevoir. So he's going to use this second Refinement here. Discard that Psychic Energy, draw 2 more cards. There is another Psychic Energy. We are going to hard attach that to our Gardevoir on the bench. Try to weave that in as a single prize attacker at some point. And we're still under Path, so we can't use the Radiant Greninja's ability. Otherwise, I would have liked to see the Psychic Energy stay in hand and Scott use the Greninja instead, but does not have the ability to replace the Stadium at the moment. So is just going to pass the turn here. Feels really bad to have to Ultra Ball for a Kirlia just to have it stay in the active and get knocked out in this next turn. But it's going to feel even worse if James is able to play a Boss's Orders and knock out the Luminion or the Gardevoir. So we're going to see double Lost Vacuum this turn, just to thin cards out of the hand and also get rid of his own Path to the Peak. We are going to use our first Genesect to draw 4 cards. We do get a Choice Belt. That's fine to slap on this active. Or the other benched Mew VMAX would be fine. Again, you're not playing the Cleansing Glove, so it doesn't really matter which Mew you attach it to. Looks like there is a Boss's Orders in the discard pile being eyed up, so maybe we are going to Cram-O-Matic for the Palpad. Or for a Boss's Orders here, if one is still in deck. Or a Serena, if we have that available to us as well. Scott holds the Luminion knowing that that's coming into the active. And here comes the Palpad. He already had it in hand. He's going to put Serena Boss back into the deck. And this is when you know it's more than likely over for Scott. Because James will be at 2 remaining prize cards. And Scott would have to use Zacian as his last attack for the game. He'd have to take like 3 prize cards with Gardevoir and then 3 prize cards with Zacian after that. Or he'd have to take 2 prize cards with Gardevoir and then 4 prize cards with Zacian after that. And his hand is just Pokemon and a Battle VIP Pass. So he's not going to really have that good of a way to draw. I mean, he does get to keep his one Kirlia that was thought to be knocked out this turn. So he is going to have a way to draw 6 cards. So maybe he will be able to get into it. But his time is dwindling fast. And James did have to get rid of his Echoing Horn in order to knock out this Lumineon this turn in order to dig for that Serena. So it's entirely possible that we don't see James win on the next turn with a boss's orders or Serena. So we do see the Temple of Sinnoh come out, replacing that stadium. We are going to keep drawing with our refinements here. We can Shining Arcana as well for another 2 cards. We do get the Gardevoir EX, so we can enhance those energies coming out here. We also see a Choice Belt Scott's playing. That is an interesting inclusion. Not a lot of these decks were playing that card. I was playing it for a time. I did feel like it was pretty good. But not good enough to warrant being in my deck, unfortunately. So, in order for Scott to take the knockout, he needs how many energies? So, let's see, he has 2 already on it. So he needs, in order to take the knockout on the Mew VMAX, he needs to hit 310. So he needs to hit 270, which means he needs 7 energies total. So he needs 5 from the discard pile. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, he has 1 more than he needs. Because he has 2 energy on it already. He needs a total of 7 in order to do 210 plus the base 60 plus the 30 from the Choice Belt. So he should be able to take 3 prize cards here. And he is actually pulling this game back. The only way that James can try to combat this is by knocking out the Gardevoir EX and bossing it. But he does not have a 4 Power Tablet turn or the Cleansing Gloves in his list. So, because you can see there is a Power Tablet right on the top of his discard pile here. So, unless we see like a Silene, I don't think that that would be possible. But I have not seen him play Silene yet. So, I don't think it's in his list either. But Scott's coming back. This is a bit rough. He only needs 5, but he's going 6. No, is he going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah, he did 6, 7, 8 energies. Times 3 is 240, plus the base 60 is 300, plus the Choice Belt is 3. Oh, no. Maybe he did need all of those. Maybe he did need 8 energy. Maybe my math was wrong. Yeah, 8 times 3 is 240. 300, 330. Yeah, so he would have needed all of those energies. Yeah, he would have been 20 short with 1 less energy. Goes for the boss's orders. And then... Oh, I think if he just bosses orders the Gardevoir EX, he just, he hits it, and then Scott doesn't have a response because he can't move the Gardevoir. So he just hits it over the course of 2 turns, and that's it. So yeah, it looks like James does win 2-0. And yeah, he's talking about the Echoing Horn. He's like, I really wanted to keep that, but I had to do this to do it. Oh, man. Yeah, so that was a little bit rough for Scott, especially game 1. But as always, guys, do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And check the description box down below for all the links to the Discord and the Twitch and all that good stuff, all those social medias. And we will see you guys for the next tournament.